Hi, I'm Jim Lowe. Welcome to High Country Chronicles Knives and Gear. I originally set out to record a review of the Air Jordan 1 Element Gore-Tex shoes. And what I've done is I've done that review, but I've also sort of developed a outdoor sneaker talk with Jim. So if you're really just interested in a review of the sneakers and not my opinion of other things in the outdoor sneaker world or outdoor shoe world, then you're going to want to pick the video that's going to appear on the screen right about now. Otherwise, enjoy this video.
I seek solitude and rest. Take the stress off my chest. Words are empty when majestic is everywhere.
Today I'm going to be doing an on-trail review of the Nike Air Jordan 1 Element. If you're not a sneakerhead, you probably haven't heard of this shoe. It basically takes the Air Jordan design and silhouette, adds the sole from the latest Tom Sachs shoe, and creates a shoe that is trail ready. It's got a suede and nylon outer and a Gore-Tex inner lining. So I'm going to take it out. It's not as wet as I had hoped it would be today. I was hoping the trail would be a little sloppy, but we did get a little rain yesterday, so maybe we'll find some overflowing trail crossings and put that Gore-Tex to the test. You can see that it's a combination of suede and nylon. We've got a nylon upper and side panels, suede accents with this big bulky sole. It's got knobs all the way around. Is that a gimmick? I don't know. We'll take it out and we'll see. I would imagine that when it gets slippy and sloppy, hopefully those knobs will help out, but that is yet to be determined. It's got a nylon tongue, and then inside it's got this Gore-Tex liner that basically it's a Gore-Tex booty inside the shoe itself. Sizing wise, it seems to be pretty similar to their standard Air Jordan 1 OG sizing. I've got a 10.5 here and it feels fine. It may not feel fine though at the end of this hike, so we'll see. I wear a 10.5 Air Jordan 1 OG and 11.5 Nike SB Dunk, size 11 in the Terra Tigers and the Zagama 2s, and this 10.5 seems to fit me pretty well. So we'll see by the end of the hike whether, you know, I think I need a size bigger, a half size bigger. Now, it's actually a quite comfortable shoe. You know, like I said, I think I referred to the sole as being bulky, and you know, it feels more like a boot than it does a trail running shoe. It is comfortable. It feels like there's a little stiffness on the heel. I don't know if that'll work its way out as I go or not. That's the only downside that I can feel right now. I had originally mentioned that, you know, hiking and trail running folks might not be familiar with this shoe, and that's because Nike generally releases its trail shoes either under their Nike Trail moniker or their ACG line. You know, Nike has in the past put out a couple of Air Jordan 1 Gore-Tex shoes. The first one was basically like a high top Air Jordan 1 with a Gore-Tex liner. Nothing at all that would be trail worthy. And the second one was more like a utility boot. So this is really, I think, their first true foray into, you know, what I would consider a trail shoe. Now, the thing that attracted me to the shoe is, well, one, I'm an OG Air Jordan 1 collector, so Air Jordan 1 Lows in the OG configuration. Always sort of, always get a look from me. But the second thing is that, frankly, I need a new early and late season shoe. My Altra waterproof shoes have been pretty torn up. My overboot that I use in the snow is in pretty sad shape, and so I need a new waterproof shoe to take with me in the early season. Now, I know there have been discussions in the trail community around, is Gore-Tex really waterproof and breathable? I'm not going to get into that here. We'll see how this goes. I can already tell you that my feet are a little warm. But I mean, it's probably 65 degrees out, and the trail isn't that sloppy, so I would kind of expect that. Now, even though I said earlier that it sort of feels like a boot, that's on hard surfaces. Once you get on the softer trail surfaces, and I'm not talking like the hard pack trail, but the softer stuff, it's actually really nice, and it's really comfortable. The hard pack stuff, maybe not so much, but the stuff like this, not super dry, not super hard packed, not really cracked, it's comfortable. I guess in environments and on trails where you would expect, you're wearing a Gore-Tex shoe in a wet environment, trails are going to be soft, it'll be great. The other thing, it's super grippy. I mean, it is really, really grippy. There's some slippery, rocky sections back there, and I just went up them no problem at all. Went purposely through the rockiest sections of trail. The stiffness that I talked about earlier acts as sort of a rock plate. For all I know, it might have a rock plate in it. It's been a little bit hard to get good beta around these shoes, other than like hype sneaker websites, and they're not much help when it comes to determining the trail worthiness of a shoe. Now, the other thing that's attracted me to this shoe is that it is most likely a 6 mil drop. I wear Ultras, I wear Nike trail shoes. The Ultras are typically 0 drop shoes. The trail shoes are typically 4 mil, but if you've been following Nike, you can see that they're really starting to push their Pegasus trail shoes, and I guess that's just for the everyday person. I think most trail folks that I see on the trail are really into lower drop shoes, and shoes like the Pegasus Trail, the Juniper, even the Wild Horse now are like 9.5 mil drops. The Zagama 2 is still 4 mil. The Ultrafly is 4 mil, but it seems like they're, the Wild Horse used to be 8 mil, and it just seems like they're starting to trend to those higher drop shoes. And so, again, this shoe should be, because it's supposed to be built on the AJ1 platform, should be about 6. So for where they're going, this is I guess a compromise. If you're interested in Nike shoes and you're interested in trail shoes, I guess this is a compromise into what's available out there. Is the Zagama 3 going to have a 4 mil, continue to have a 4 mil whenever they release it? I don't know. I certainly hope so. I've been a proponent of the Terra Kygers since day one. I had the first release of the Terra Kygers, and they were great. They were, low drop, ultra light, basically a real minimalist trail shoe. And that first year, I absolutely loved them. And then as the years progressed, I sort of floated in and out of what they've been doing. That second year, I think they put in a rock plate, which in my mind kind of ruined the shoe. Then, you know, a couple years later, I think with the 4s, they took the rock plate out, and then I got back into them. Fortunately, I tend to buy a bunch of shoes at once, and so I can afford to go a couple years without getting a new release if I need to. Now, as I was saying, when it comes to Nike trail shoes, back in the day, as I remember it, you know, late 80s, early 90s, your only option was ACG. And again, as I remember it, I haven't gone back and actually done any research. ACG at the time was they were sort of hybrid trail shoes. Back then, it was kind of trendy to wear light hikers around town, and I think Nike was capitalizing on that. And so they were sort of hybrid city trail shoes, and they were cool. Vibrant colors, different designs, and I remember myself, in fact, I probably still have a pair, but I had like 3 pairs of these sort of slipper-like shoes that had a hybrid tread, and they didn't have any laces, and they were real easy to slip in and out of. They were really durable. I mean, they had a little bit of bulk to them, and I tell you, those were my favorite shoes for the longest time, and I wore them everywhere. And so as it's developed, ACG has sort of developed into a, you know, trendy hybrid hiking apparel and shoes. And even though, I mean, just recently they released a trail runner, but unlike their Nike trail shoes, which are true running shoes, you look at this Nike trail runner, and they don't even give you the drops. So if you go to a Nike trail shoe like the Zagama, or any true running shoe, they'll give you the heel toe drops. With the ACG runner, they don't do that. So it's really more, you know, limited production, kind of hyped. It's got a real following. Maybe not what I would consider a true trail shoe, but you know, I haven't tried one in years because of the hype and because they can be a little difficult to get a hold of. And frankly, I don't like where, you know, a lot of the designs have gone, you know, kind of the way out there sort of stuff. Really not the kind of stuff, the subtle stuff that you want to be wearing on the trail. Now, before anybody thinks that I'm down on the Nike trail running line, I'm not. You know, a lot of companies, a lot of the mainstream shoe companies, Brooks, Adidas, whatever, you know, their trail shoes are greater or higher drops than I would like. And I get that, you know, because most road shoes are higher drops, and it's an easy transition for folks, you know, if they're running in the Nike Pegasus, to just switch over to the Pegasus Trail and have a shoe that presumably, you know, feels the same but gives you a better traction on the trail. Totally get that, and I'm okay with that. Everybody's different. My personal preferences, though, are lower drop shoes, and really, until about 2 years ago, I really didn't want to touch anything over 4 mil, and I sort of made a compromise to get into things that were a little bit higher as I started getting more heavily into collecting SB Dunk sneakers. I've been wearing Ultras for years, since before my back incident, but the Ultras also helped my back incident, and helped my running. I used to walk around in a 0 drop shoe, and then I would run in a 4 mil drop shoe, and the whole idea behind that was basically to save my lower my lower chain to save my Achilles and my calves. You know, because the higher the shoe drop, the shorter your Achilles and calves are going to be. And since I have a problem with flexibility in general, that's how I kind of mitigated injury during my running. And for years, you know, I was running in Brooks that had like a 11 mil drop, and I had inserts, and I had all sorts of problems with my IT bands. And, you know, I started reading into minimalist shoes and how that helps lengthen and strengthen everything. And so for a while, you know, I bought a pair of Merrells. Their early minimalist shoes, wore those for a time. And so, you know, at the time, my wife and her sisters, they were really into doing the rock and roll half marathons, and so I would join them. And at one of the expos, I lucked into a booth that was carrying Altras. Now, this was the year after they had started releasing their shoes to the public. Not a couple years ago when they got that extra funding, and I think they may have even been bought out or partnershiped, and they started changing the shoes and getting a wider distribution. This was still, I don't know, 2016, 17 maybe before that. But anyway, I lucked into a pair of the first Ultra Superiors, the very first shoe, the green ones, and I wore those. And then, you know, I thought those were great. I didn't have any problems with them. I couldn't really run with them because I just didn't take the time to do the proper transition. But not that long after, or right around the same time, Nike introduced the Terra Kygers. And so they were 4 mil drop, and I was walking in 0 mil, running in 4 mil, and I found that that really worked for me. So that's where I would kind of like to stay. Admittedly, I've been walking around in like 6 mil drop shoes now for about 18 months. I have seen a few more problems than I used to, but it's the compromise that I've made to, you know, get back into wearing quote normal shoes, because on a day-to-day basis I was wearing the Ultra Torrens every day. I was hiking in either the Superiors or the Lone Peaks, and you know, they started making changes, and the latest pair of Ultra Torrens I got just they're not durable. I mean, I tore through the sides in a matter of months, and I've had Torrens that I've had for years, and the only reason I needed to replace them was that the soles were, you know, were ground down to nothing. So from what I've seen, you know, at least in the Torrens, the Lone Peaks are still okay, but at least in the Torrens, the material they're using, that knit material, it just isn't durable. And then, you know, they went ahead and started changing the sizing, and now there's a wide and a not wide, and so I didn't like the changes, and so I figured, okay, well maybe I'll just start looking at normal shoes. And so that got me into looking at something like the SB Dunks. The SB Dunks have a little bit more cushioning than I need. They're made with you know, more premium materials so that they can last the abuses of skateboarding. And you know, I'm a collector of stuff anyway, so I got bit by the sneaker bug just a bit. So I've had to make that compromise into wearing 6 mil shoes. This was meant to be a sneaker review, and now it's become Sneaker Talk with Jim, which I actually meant to do a different video on, but I guess, you know, once I'm on the trail and once I start talking about something, I guess I can't stop. Okay, so I've crested the top of the crest, so I don't think I mentioned it, but I'm at Pleasanton Ridge, and so I've crested the top of the ridge. I've gone about 2 miles in the shoe. They're feeling pretty good. I may be feeling a little rubbing on my right to outside pinky toe, but Yeah, I'm only noticing it now because I'm going downhill. Going uphill, it was fine. So I talked to somebody on the trail. There's not too much water, so maybe I won't be able to get these wet, but I guess we'll see. Yeah, I've been going over a rocky terrain. I've been purposely going over the rocks, and I mean, I can feel that there's a lump there, but it's super comfortable. And you know, these knobs, I guess one of the things that these knobs do on harder surfaces, I guess they just compress and they just kind of cushion you, which is kind of cool. So far, no issues. I'm having a really pleasant hike with these, and we'll continue on. Now, this area is one of my favorite places to run. I don't think I have any running videos on Pleasanton Ridge yet, but I'll have to do that. And when I'm out here, I'm always on the lookout for cougars, because they are out here. They have been seen out here. So it's really cool. And I come out here early in the mornings in the winter, so I'll be out here in the dark, and you know, occasionally my headlamp will hit the will hit the eyes of something reflected back at me. And you know, a couple of weeks ago that happened. There was something that was crouching in the woods off to my side. I knew it wasn't a deer. I don't know what it was. It was probably a bobcat. I think it was a bobcat, but you know, it would be cool if it was a cougar. But anyway, yeah. So I'm out here hiking. I got my water. Got my dark timber custom bushy. I don't have any food. I probably should have brought a gel. I haven't eaten this morning, so everything I'm doing is fasted. And I'll probably be out here for 3 hours. It should be about 6 miles. It takes about an hour to get to the top of the crest when you're walking, and then I'm guessing it's going to be another hour to get back to the main trail, and then about 45 minutes to get down. So we'll see. Purposely stepping as much in these ruts as I can, and really I'm not having any problems with them. You know, I mean, the shoe is stable. I'm not feeling like my ankles are going to twist or anything. So you know, if I was in my trail running shoes, that would be a different story. And then even coming down here, this is usually pretty slippy. Again, I don't walk down here, but running down here is usually pretty slippy, and it's fine. So not too wet yet. I decided to do a little running, especially on the parts that I know are slippy when I'm running with my Zagamas. No issues. It's super grippy, comfortable. It's not a running shoe, but it's not a problem. Now I've got 3 possible water crossings, so hopefully one of them has some water in it. This here is usually a little slippy, so I'll run down this and see how it goes, and I'll run right through those ruts. Yeah, a little wet. Yeah, a little wet. I can tell it would be a little slippy in my Terracougars or my Zagamas, but yeah, not an issue in these. Okay, first possible water crossing, and again, really not much going on here. Since I've been running in them, I am starting to feel a little chafing on the inside sock on my upper left ankle. I don't know if I would be feeling that if I hadn't run in them. Not anything that I would call bad. I mean, when I first got the Zagamas, I remember I had some really bad chafing with them, and then I did some adjustments, and it's not a problem. I mean, I've run 12 hours in them with no issues. And you can see it's very pleasant down here. There is no water in the creek. This is a little damp. Like I said, the news had been going on all week about how we were getting this atmospheric storm coming through the Bay Area, and we got like an hour of drizzle yesterday, and that was about it. I'm coming to my second possible water crossing, and zilch. Second predicted water area, and of course it's almost bone dry. Now there's been some mention on the online reviews that you'll find around these shoes about the snug fit, and they are a little snug. They're snug around the ankle and the midfoot. I think the forefoot is fine to me. They are of course snug because you've got a Gore-Tex sock in your shoe, so that's going to make it a little bit snugger than say your normal Air Jordan 1. But this is a trail shoe, so is it snugger than you know, some of the other trail shoes that are out there? I don't think so. I mean, again, you got the Gore-Tex sock on, so you're feeling that snugness around your ankle, but you know, my toes, my forefoot are fine, and I don't think it's any snugger than any other outdoor shoe that I would wear. Is it a little bit snugger than the trail runners that I wear? Yeah, because different materials, right? I've got this suede, I've got a heavier kind of nylon, and so yeah, I mean, the trail shoes are very sort of thin, soft, forgiving materials. Aha! Okay, we have a puddle. So let's do this. Pull up my shoes a little bit, and let's see how this goes. Okay, so I'm not getting over my ankles in the back. See if I can get over the laces a little bit. Not feeling any water. Okay, I just splashed my ankle. Okay, not getting anything in the back. Okay, I think that's about all I need to do. I am starting to feel that my feet have cooled down a little bit. Nothing that I would call wet though. They don't feel wet. They just feel cool. One thing that I typically do when I've got suede or leather shoes is I'll spray them with mink oil to protect them from the water. I didn't do that with these, and I'm hoping maybe wrongly that, you know, that a shoe with a Gore-Tex inner lining would have some sort of protectorant on it for the leather parts. I will, you know, I'll try and get online with a Nike representative and see. I did try to talk to them about these shoes, but another tree down. I've been seeing trees in our area come down a lot recently, and I don't know if there's some sort of pestilence going on or what the story is. Okay, so here the knobs are slippy on here, which I guess you might expect. This is wet, and you can see it's slick, so they are sort of slippy on this. So that's one thing I would be careful of. I would imagine that you've got a little bit more purchase, it's a little bit better, and on stuff like this it's going to be fine. Here's my first deer. Pretty nice male. There are lots of deer in here, and that's why you've got the cougars. There are lots of deer in this area, and when I'm running I see them all the time. In the spring you've got some herding, and they'll have guard dogs with them, which is kind of cool to see. And then of course bobcats. This is the only place in the Bay Area where I regularly see bobcats. And then, you know, all the other normal little critters that you would expect to see. This place is a good place to find rattlesnakes. So I've seen a rattlesnake or two. Not as many as Shell Ridge, but they, you know, they are here. If you're a snake person, the only venomous snake that we have around here is the northern Pacific rattlesnake. I've just stopped and done some readjusting, mainly because that right pinky toe is chafing a little bit. I think that's more due to the seam in my sock than anything else. So I've readjusted. I've also confirmed that my sock isn't wet. So yeah, shoe is is waterproof up to, I guess, about 1.5 inches at least, as long as I didn't go over the ankle cut. And we'll continue on. I'm not a firm believer in breaking in shoes. In my experience, at least with modern shoes, if the shoe isn't comfortable at the store, it's not going to be comfortable on the trail. And you're not going to break it in. It's just going to be miserable. Maybe back in the day when I was a kid and the majority of the shoes were real leather, breaking in was a thing, but not anymore. Go right through the worst section of trail, going up. Really no issues. Okay, stop being an eco-terrorist. It may not look like much, but this section of trail is steep and these leaves are slippy. No issues. I'm really liking these shoes. You know, on the pavement in the house, they felt a little bulky, a little booty, but on the trail, they feel really nimble and agile. It's kind of cool. Now, I said earlier that my feet felt hot, but you know, as I've been hiking, they don't feel any hotter, sweatier than any of the rest of my body. So yeah, it's not like I'm getting a hot foot. It's not like I'm getting swamp foot or anything. So far it's been fine. So in the spring you can come out here and this whole area is just covered with sheep that are out here grazing with their guard dog. It's pretty cool. Okay, I'm at the 4-mile mark, and I'm starting to get a little chafing on the left-hand side now, and I think that's not because the shoe is too small per se, but I think I may need to size. up. The problem with sizing up is, I mean, the shoe feels great. And I think maybe if you hiked 4 miles in a regular AJ1, I'd probably be getting the same chafing. And so that's what I mean by, I don't think it's the sizing, because I mean the shoe, again, it feels great. It's just I've got a little bit of chafing. So I may try, and I did buy that half size up, so I did buy an 11. I may try that. The problem with sizing up is that you can lose that dexterity because, you know, it kind of feels like you're wearing flippers. So we'll see. It's not terrible. It might be better with better socks, but it is noticeable. And frankly, most of my hiking and running shoes are thinner, softer materials, and you're just not going to get, you know, that kind of chafing with those materials. What tends to happen with me is I end up breaking through the pinky ends up breaking through those materials. So it's not like I don't get chafing with my other shoes. It's just I notice it less because the materials are more forgiving, and with this nylon and the leather or the suede, it's not so much. This is normally a little slippy downhill section, not having any problems. Sometimes chafing can just be a matter of, you know, too tight of the laces, and so I just stopped and I loosened the 2 bottom laces, and it feels so much better. The chafing's gone. It's completely gone. My foot's sliding around a little bit, but it just feels so much better now. Okay, this is a pretty sandy, slippery downhill usually. going through the gravel. I usually try to avoid the gravel because it is so slippery. Doing fine. I loosened the laces on my right shoe, and the rubbing is not so bad, but I think I liked the tight fit because I felt more grounded, more in touch with the trail. Okay, another gravelly section that I try to avoid, and the shoes are handling it no problem. I wouldn't hike down it in my trail runners, but there's really not a problem for the shoes. And when I say not a problem, I mean, you know, it's grippy, but it's also not uncomfortable. Okay, I'm down. My guess, because I didn't start my Strava, is 6 miles, somewhere between 2.5 to 3.5 hours, with 1,600 feet of climbing. I'll be able to say exactly when I get home. I've got, you know, this is one of my typical runs, so I've got all that information. First off, I got to say I love these shoes. You know, on the concrete, on the hard packed soil, they're sort of booty and clunky. You get them out on the soft soil, and they're comfortable, they're nimble, they're agile, they're grippy. I'm really pleased. In terms of the sizing, I think if you are familiar with Nike shoes and the AJ1 OG Lowe version of those shoes, I think it's pretty true to that size. I hate the term true to size because all shoes are different and they're all going to fit you differently, and people say true to size. Yeah, that doesn't really mean anything to me. But if you wear those shoes, it is pretty true to that size. Now, my feet are wide, and I find that every once in a while with an OG Air Jordan, I have to size up. For example, in the 85s, I have to size up in the 85s. So if you know shoes, let me tell you what I wear so you can kind of have a comparison. So these are 10.5. I wear a 10.5 in an AG1 and an Air Jordan 1 OG. I wear 11s in Nike Terra Kiger and Zagama shoes. I wear 11s in Ultras. So that would kind of give you sort of a gauge. Again, I did get chafing with these. You know, could I walk or hike 15 miles in these as they are standing now? No. I need to do some sort of adjustment, and that adjustment's either going to be loosening the laces, which I did, and that helped, or sizing up. I've got an 11 coming tomorrow, so I've got half a size coming tomorrow, which I'm going to try. One of the things that I dislike about sizing up, for example, I go up a full size in SB Dunks, and sometimes I feel like I'm wearing flippers. So I'll try the shoes tomorrow. We'll see how they fit. I kind of did like the snug feel. I did like the tighter feel of having the laces cinched around. So, you know, we'll see. Again, loosening the laces did help with the chafing. So I'll have to go out again with these with the laces loose. But I did lose some of that trail feel. My foot was kind of sliding around. So the solution may be to size up. I'll try the shoes tomorrow and I will let you know. If you've watched this video to the end, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the sneaker talk and this review.
I seek solitude and rest. Take the stress off my chest. Words are empty when majestic is everywhere.